Hey everyone, today I'm really excited to bring you something that I've been working on, and that's my full starting route for the very first day, that very first hour, once Leagues 4 drops. With all the tasks being announced, we can actually start planning out what we want to do and trying to be a little bit efficient in that first hour so we can escape that mob rush right at the beginning. Now, in this route, you'll be completing 60 tasks. This is important because in the last Trailblazer, you unlocked your first zone after completing 60 tasks. So one of your very first goals in Leagues 4 is going to be to get to your first zone so you can do some of the content there. And we'll talk about that in just a bit. In addition, you'll be getting 690 points. While we don't know the exact thresholds, this should very well get you into Tier 2, get you unlocking some more relics, and basically, starting to work towards the next tiers. In addition, the restrictions on this route is that there are no tasks that require any kind of competition, so you're not going to be fighting for any resources, and you can basically do this even with 2,000 people right at the start, right in the starting area. This means that if you're doing this route, maybe on day 2 or even like 6 or 7 hours after the league starts, there's probably going to be a couple more options, but this is very much designed so that you're not going to be stuck with any bottlenecks on that very first day. And finally, this route also doesn't require any relics. It doesn't really take advantage of any of the tier 1 relics. So regardless of what you pick, you will be able to do this route. Keep in mind, however, that this may mean that there are more optimal routes that really do take advantage of your tier 1 relic, and that's something you should probably think about while you watch the video. For example, I've seen some incredibly cool routes that really take advantage of the Trickster relic to get a very high thieving experience and use that 100% thieving chance to have access to tasks that this route would never be able to touch. So why is a first zone so important? Why do we care about it so much in that first hour? Well, in Trailblazers, everybody's going to be starting over in Lumbridge, and you'll only have access to Mistalin and Karamja. With so many players all stuck in the starting area, this means that some of the ordinary tasks, such as mining copper rocks, suddenly become a bottleneck where you've got like hundreds of people trying to fight over one copper rock. As a result, being efficient to unlock your first zone can really help you escape that early mob. And in addition, that first zone, not only are you going to be one of the first people to it, but everybody's going to be spreading out to different first choices based on their route. Meaning that the competition is just going to be way less in that first zone, and you can really start to get your levels up without having to fight against other people. So if you're going to a massive region like Zaya first, there's just so much more resource and options there compared to like Lumbridge and Draynor Village, that getting access to Zaya first and then actually going ahead and completing, the other tasks you have left is going to be a fantastic option. For me personally, I'm looking to unlock Kandarin because I want to get access to tin and copper rocks early. That way I can start mining, I can start smithing. And I also want to be able to complete quests like the Waterfall quest and the Fight Arena. This will get me over level 50 attack without having to do any combat training, so I'm already going to be incredibly strong, take on a lot of combat tasks way earlier than I would have if I was grinding mobs over in Lumbridge. Other powerful reasons to unlock a first zone could be if you're going for the desert and you'll get access to the Gem Trader early. Gem Trader is going to be a great source of crafting experience as well as making money. And so you'll be able to make like hundreds of thousands of gold in just the very first hours of the game if you go to the desert early. And that can be spent on runes or basically anything you need throughout your league's journey. Now, I did also want to shout out a really useful tool that I've been using to make this route, and that's leagueplans.com. This was made by Grenarder in the League's Discord, and it's a really cool tool that I really like because it lets you visualize. You get to see your stats as well as your inventory. And I also really like that when you're making your route, you can make chunks and like sub-chunks of content to help organize your thoughts. And it's a lot easier for me, at least, to go through than to just look at like an Excel spreadsheet of every single thing I have to do. It's also nice that if I wanted to go back and add a task, maybe I forgot something, so I'll go to my Lumbridge 1 thing, and I can add like a task here, such as like pickpocket a man. And what I'm going to want to do once I've added this task is go to like your league progress, which will show you all the tasks that you have available. And over here, I can pickpocket a citizen, complete this task, and now it will actually keep track of that. I have 5 tasks completed, 50 league points, and so on as I go down through the whole process. All right, and so for this video, most of it is actually going to be me commentating over a VOD of me doing the route. So I basically went through it. I hadn't really practiced it. I just wanted to go through my first try to give you a super accurate time. There's going to be a timer going, so you can see exactly where I'm at with my timer for you to keep track of, roughly where you would want to be, as well as a running task counter so that you know where we're at. Now for my inventory, I basically have the exact inventory you're going to have when you get off of Tutorial Island. In particular, you will have a Draymond staff because Lost City is auto-completed. The one exception though is that I will have stamina potions because I don't have unlimited run energy in the main game. Also, you'll notice that I have teleport to house tablets. In leagues, there are going to be waypoints in Lumbridge as well as Brimhaven that you'll be able to teleport to at will. There's not a cooldown to it. You can just teleport there. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to get to Karamja because you actually can't get there with just Misthalin. You have to be able to teleport there. Obviously, I don't have that in the main game, so just to replicate it, I have a teleport to house tablet that's going to let me go to Lumbridge, and then I'm also going to be using the Brimhaven house teleport to get to the Brimhaven spot. And otherwise, I'm just trying to do the game as best I can to get an accurate time. So with that being said, let's begin. Your very first task is going to be to complete the Leagues tutorial, as well as open up the Leagues menu, which I'm just simulating by opening up the settings. It's 2 tasks right from the start. You'll want to head to the Lumbridge graveyard, and dancing in a graveyard is a task, so you're going to go ahead and do that once you find it in your emotes, of course. In addition, entering Death's Domain is a task, so get that done while you're here. Now, speaking account check is going to allow you to teleport over to the Stronghold of Security, so that's going to wrap up our Lumbridge 1 block. We're going to be heading over to the Stronghold for our next block. Now, when Leagues drops, there are going to be hundreds and hundreds of people at the Stronghold of Security, so you're not going to need a lot of food. Even if you get attacked by a monster, I believe the max hit is going to be like an 8. You're going to have your bread and your shrimp right from the start. So you really should be able to get through this just fine. Now, if you're nervous and you're scared that you might die or something like that, you can go fish at Lumbridge Swamp and just like cook up some extra shrimp just to give you a little bit more health. But honestly, you're going to be fine. There's going to be so many people here, no risk of death. And if you are doing this a little bit later in the leagues, yeah, you should probably go get some food just to play it a little bit safe. But this route does rely on getting that 10,000 gold, so the Stronghold of Security is going to be your first objective with the route. Now, completing the first 3 floors is all that you need to get the 10,000 gold. However, you're going to want to go ahead and complete the 4th floor and get some fancy boots because that is a task. And of course, make sure that you have 2-factor authentication set up on your account. The last thing you want is to start your leagues and then realize that your account security is not properly set up, so you got to log off and do all that. It's really awful. It's happened to me. Trust me, don't do that to yourself. Just go ahead and double check. All right, and in just over 5 minutes, we've gotten 5 tasks completed, 10,000 gold. All right, and now you're going to want to go ahead and teleport to Karamja, actually. Again, use that waypoint and get over to Brimhaven. This is going to be our Karamja 1 block. Now, your first task here is going to be to run over to the port and go ahead and trade the trader crew member and buy a knife. This is important, and it is also a task to buy something. So grab your knife. We're good to go. Next, take the cart over to Shiloh Village. This costs 200 gold, which is why we got that 10,000 first. You're going to run to the general store, go ahead and buy a torch, and then you're also going to light that torch. This is a task. If you need to manage your inventory, you can drop the dagger and the sword. The Draymond staff is actually going to be our weapon of choice for one section, but you should have the inventory for all of this. I'm just a little bit rough on inventory because I have like the extra stamina potions and stuff like that. Now, what you're going to want to do is go to the fishing shop here, buy yourself a fishing rod as well as bait. You're not going to be able to access Port Sarum, so this is going to be important for the route. Get yourself your rod and bait. You're going to go upstairs and get a task from Duradel. You do not need the Slayer level to get him. You just need to go and talk to him. Getting a task from Duradel as well as getting a task period, those are both tasks. Now, over in the shop, buy a spiny helmet as well as an enchanted gem. And you're going to want to use the enchanted gem to check for a task. That is also a task. And finally, go ahead and home teleport. That's 11 tasks completed in just 8.5 minutes. All right, and we're starting our Lumbridge 2 chunk. I'm kind of segmenting them so that you're able to go and access whatever chunk that you might be interested in looking at, so you can see exactly what I'm doing in every single region. Now, first things first, go up into Lumbridge Castle. You're going to go ahead and talk to the Duke and start the Rune Mysteries quest. He's going to give you an Air Talisman, which I'm just going to add an Air Talisman from my bank in just a little bit. Now I'm heading up to the bank, and I'm actually going to be throwing away the stuff I don't need and setting up my bank very similar to what I have now. Again, you're going to want to have something like this for the next segment and for basically the rest of the route. Our next task is going to be to pickpocket a man. You're also going to want to get 28 coin pouches, which is another task. This is definitely a lot easier with the Trickster Relic. However, if you're just doing this normally, you shouldn't take too long. If for some reason you're like really low on health, you can come back to this later. But basically, just get 28 coin pouches and we'll continue on. Next up, go ahead and buy a steel axe from Bob's Brilliant Axes. This is going to come in handy later when we do some wood cutting. And you're going to want to equip your Draymond staff and make sure that it's set to defensive. Our goal here is to get to level 5 defense, which we're going to do by killing exactly 4 goblins. If it's for some reason 5, then, kill 5, but you need level 5 defense. Defeating a goblin is a task, as well as burying some bones, so make sure you do that. And the reason why we're getting level 5 defense is so that we can equip our spiny helmet that we bought over at Duradel, which is also a task. Next up, we're going to be doing Cook's Assistant, so use your bucket to milk a cow, which is also a task. And just across the street, you're going to want to go ahead and grab an egg from the chicken area. And just in case this place is crowded, you can actually search these coops for an unlimited amount of eggs. So you're not going to have to kill chickens or try to compete for eggs. You can just search the coop and get your egg. And to finish up in Lumbridge, go ahead and run over to the windmill. You're going to want to collect some wheat, but before you do that, make sure to also cry in a wheat field, which is a task. Now we're going to need the flour to complete Cook's Assistant, but making flour is also a task in itself, so it's a 2-in-1 here. And that brings us up to 21 tasks completed. Good job, guys. Keep it up. In Draynor Village, we have our first and only skilling chunk. We'll start this off by completing 10 laps of the agility course. Completing a lap of a rooftop course is a task. Completing the Draynor course is a task. And completing 10 laps is also going to be a task. Also, getting a Mark of Grace is a task, so make sure you get one of those before you finish this up. Along the way, you'll also get level 20 in agility, and that will be another task to get your first level 20. Once you're done with agility, let's move on to some fishing. Now, with the way my inventory is set up, this should be fine. However, if you wanted to throw everything into the bank, I personally just prefer to keep it this way so I don't accidentally forget anything. You're going to want to catch shrimp to level 5. This is only going to take you 8 shrimp. You can see I'm getting anchovies, but you'll be level 1 when you do this, so you're only going to be able to get shrimp. Once you hit level 5, you can go ahead and bank that. Next up, we're going to be fishing sardines. This is why we got that fishing rod and bait earlier. And again, I'm getting herring, but you're only going to get sardines at this point. And it's only going to take you 8 sardines to get to level 10. Getting your first level 10 that's not agility is also another task completed. Bank your fish, and now you're going to want to catch herring all the way to level 15 fishing. Catching a raw herring is a task in itself. Now, the number of herring needed is going to depend on whether you get herring or sardine, but basically just go ahead and fish until you're level 15. And obviously, the segment is made a lot faster if you chose to go with the Endless Harvest. Once you're level 15, go back to small net fishing and catch an anchovy. This gets us our 30th task completed, and we're halfway done with the route. And just remember to bank your fish, you are going to need it in just a little bit. To wrap up our skilling portion, we do have some wood cutting to do. This is technically a competition, but what I would advise you to do is just whenever you see a tree, just go ahead and chop it down. You're going to want to chop 20 logs to get to level 15. And of those 20, you want to burn 13 of them. Again, we're trying to get a level 15 wood cutting and level 15 fire making. Chopping normal logs completes a task, as well as chopping logs with a steel axe. That's why we got that steel axe earlier. It's also going to speed this part up. Burning normal logs is also a task, and at this point you should get total level 100, which will complete yet another task. And again, our goal here is level 15 in both so that we can chop as well as burn some oak logs, which gets us another task. Finally, go ahead and make some arrow shafts. This gets us another task. And that wraps up the skilling portion of this entire route. Just remember that if you had Endless Harvest while you were wood cutting, all those logs would be sent to your bank, so you're going to want to take them out. Before we leave Draynor, go ahead and buy yourself a Chronicle and some teleport cards. You really only need 1, but I would just buy 5 because this is a good teleport to have. We're going to be running south to the Wizard Tower to go ahead and continue with Rune Mysteries. This is done by talking to Wizard Cedrador in the basement. The next step is going to be to talk to Aubrey over in Varrock, but don't go there just yet. We got one more thing we need to do. And no, we're not fighting the Lesser Demon, okay? That's going to be super packed. Don't do that. Okay, so we're actually going to make our way north over to Draynor Manor. Entering here is a task, and also getting one of these chairs to follow you is a task. I don't know how many people are going to be here all at once. Just in case, you can probably make this up with like any other task if there's like 100 people here for whatever reason. And that wraps up Draynor. Go ahead and use the Chronicle teleport, and we're going to get into our Varrock chunk. In Varrock, you can start by talking to Drevin and buying a rake. Raking a farming patch will complete another task. Make your way into Varrock, and we're heading over to Aubrey. But most importantly, make sure to pet the stray dog. This brings our total up to 40. Speak to Aubrey twice to continue the Rune Mysteries quest. I believe he gives you like a package that you need to take back to Cedrador. And thanks to the thieving we did earlier, we can actually steal from the Varrock tea stall to get another task completed. Make sure you don't drink the tea because we are going to be using it very, very shortly. Head on north and speak to the estate agent to go ahead and buy your player-owned house. Remember that your player-owned house is going to be in Brimhaven. It can't be in Remington because that's outside of the starting area. This also completes a task. Okay, and I did forget to do this, that's why the timer's off here, but once you've gotten your player-owned house, go ahead and go upstairs into the church, and you're going to want to use the cup of tea on Elsie. Getting her to tell you a story is another task. Next up, we're going to want to turn logs into a plank. There's a bunch of trees here that you can use in case Draynor was crowded and you want to get your wood cutting section done over here. But once you got that plank done, we're going to be heading east over to the dig site. Bon Voyage is auto completed, so you're going to be able to take the boat straight to Fossil Island and get another task completed. And once again, you're going to want to pet the dog. This gives us our 46th task. Now, either by using home teleport or by just teleporting to the Lumbridge Waystone in Leagues, we're going to be entering our Lumbridge 2 chunk, which starts off by finishing the Cook's Assistant quest using what we've collected so far. This is going to be important because using the range is necessary for a task. You can get rid of a lot of useless stuff by now that you've already done the task for, and this is just to open up your inventory so you can get some of that raw fish and go cook it downstairs. Our main goal here is to get level 5 cooking so that we can successfully cook a raw herring. Cooking a shrimp is a task, using the range is a task, and burning some food is a task. So if you got really lucky and you didn't burn any food, you can also use some of your cooked food on like a fire and that's gonna burn it. And if you get like terribly lucky and somehow you burn every single fish that you got, you may need to go over to like the Lumbridge swamp and just grab some more shrimp, but that's like a very worst case scenario. That being said, once you have successfully cooked a herring, head on out. There's a new task in Leagues where you need to use a herring on a tree, so you could do this on basically any tree, but I found this one in Lumbridge, so I'm going to go ahead and use the herring on the tree, and that gives us task number 50 completed. We're almost done. Head south into the Lumbridge swamp, and we're going to be starting our Zanaris chunk. Make sure you have the Drayman staff equipped, and go ahead and enter the shed to be teleported into Zanaris. Entering Zanaris is a task. Head on over to the fairy ring, which you will have access to, and you're going to want to use fairy ring code CKR to go over to Karamja. Using a fairy ring is a task. Be careful of the hobgoblins here. They can attack you, so it might be nice to just bring along some of that cooked food that you had. And we're actually going to be fishing over here to get raw Karamwanji, which is another task. This does not require any quest. Head back to the fairy ring, and this time we're going to DIS. This is the Wizard Tower fairy ring. This is so we can finish up Rune Mysteries, which has 3 more tasks associated with it. Not only is completing Rune Mysteries a task, but getting teleported to the Rune Essence Mine is. And you're also going to want to locate the Air Talisman. However, you can't do this inside of the Essence Mine. You have to be like somewhere in the mainland to do it. We're now at 56 completed, and our home stretch is going to be the Karamja 2 chunk. From Brimhaven, just book it east. You're heading over to the Musa Point Banana Farm. Now, at this point, if you need to drop any food or just open up some inventory space, you should be fine. I don't think that this is going to be very much competition because there's just a lot of bananas. But go ahead and grab 10 bananas. You're going to want to go ahead and fill a crate. I don't know if you need to talk to him to actually get this, but you might as well. And this is actually a medium task, surprisingly. Once again, head back to Karamja, and you're going to your player-owned house in Brimhaven. Entering your house is a task, and also building a room inside of your player-owned home is a task. So go ahead and just build a parlor. It's the cheapest one. Gets it nice and done. Okay, and finally, from the portal, if you see some pineapples, this might be an option to complete a task. However, these guys do have a long respawn time, so if there's a bunch of people here, you might not be able to get a pineapple plant. And this can also be like a safety in case you missed one from earlier. But the real final task that you're going to want to complete is to head into the Brimhaven dungeon. This does require 875 coins. And I believe these vines require 10 wood cutting, but I don't know if this is necessary. But it doesn't matter because we've already done our wood cutting section. We're going to be able to access the Brimhaven dungeon and complete our 60th task. And this was all done in just under 45 minutes, which is pretty damn fast. Personally, I'm really happy with what I've come up here because I think it's a really good route. There's really no competition or any hiccups. I don't really see where you can go wrong with it. And really, in under 45 minutes, getting to your first zone, I mean, that's freaking awesome. So let me know what you guys think about this one. Again, I'm really happy with it because I kind of did it completely on my own. I haven't been really like researching into other people's routes. I'm sure there's a lot more optimization that you can do with it. And that's why I would just take this as like a starting point for your own route. There's so many more tasks that you could add to this depending on what you come across. Maybe there's not as much competition over by the sheep and you can like spin a ball of wool. Or maybe you have access to tin and copper rocks on like the Isle of Souls and you can get there early to complete some of your tasks. But that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.